for a dream to die. Rely on yourself and no way. Believe.
Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday. Um, Topic: what would cause you to give up Christianity? Um, this one's not really going to be one that you can pull out of the Bible because it's such a personal question uh, in terms of your faith walk and all that stuff. So I'm going to read the premise for the question, and then we'll have a discussion. It'll be a lot more interactive, I think, on this one. What would cause you to leave Christianity? If so, what is it? Demonstrate that Christ did not rise from the dead? All that would be necessary is to find an ancient tomb with sufficient archaeological evidence in it to substantiate that it was Jesus of the New Testament who was crucified and failed to rise from the dead. In such a case, I would give up Christianity, not me, the person speaking. If not, then don't you have blind faith? Yeah, because faith is not based on sight. I've never understood that term blind faith. Anyway, we'll continue. Blind faith is held by atheists. Blind blind faith doesn't exist anyway. They cannot demonstrate that God does not exist. In spite of the dilemma of trying to prove a negative, they demonstrate great faith that their assumptions about God's non existence properly represent reality. Okay? Yes, it is. It is Creole. It is. I have a long day today, and thank you for the birthday wishes, everybody. Really, thank you. Um, I have 5 shows today, so it's a great way to celebrate my birthday. Great way to celebrate my birthday. I went from not wanting to do anything to having to do everything. So it's been quite the switch to flip. Um, there are two things wrong with the premise of the question, um, and the two things are give up and Christianity. Um, a lot of people view Christianity as a thing I do or the thing you do, or that's how they view Christianity as an activity or a belief structure or a thing. That's not Christianity. Um, and to say one gives it up um, is also kind of crazy. Now, I guess I jumped the gun real quick because I said there was nothing really biblical to substantiate the stuff that we're going to discuss, but I digress. Um, because they bring in this topic of faith, blind faith. So the Bible's version of faith is it's the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. So if you can't see it, by nature, faith is blind. You function. Thank you, Creel. You function on something that you cannot see. That by nature is faith. You can't. So it's like a redundant statement to say it's blind faith. Faith by default is blind. So let's run down some things that would normally cause people to lose faith, or rather walk away from Christianity, as they would put it. Um, you have a death in the family of a very close person that you prayed for and prayed for healing, and it didn't happen. And that means you lost faith in God and you walked away. I've heard that happen before. Um, you're in a situation in life where You pray for relief from it and it doesn't come, so you walk away. Um, you encounter something that you, thank you, thank you very much. You encounter something from work or something of the sort, and it doesn't go the way you want. You don't get that raise that you pray for, so you walk away from your faith. You go to church, and then the preacher says something that offends you. You walk away. You have someone at church, and they say something to you sideways, and you say, "Oh, that's the whole," and you walk away. The problem with putting Christianity as your identifier is that Christianity has become your identity. I'm going to say that, and I want people to understand what I mean. You have taken the term Christianity and somehow believe that that's you. That's not you, and it's not what he wants at all. Like at all. Um, Christianity is what you're called by the world to be involved in. But what you really are is a child of God. See, my child can't be any less mine because he thinks he's not. Now he can forego my benefits of my name, of my influence, of my protection. But my child cannot be less my child. He can disown me. Still mine. You see, there are two different versions of the children of God. We are his by default because he made us. Okay, so there's that ownership portion of it where we are his regardless. Whether you're an atheist, you hate him, doesn't matter. He made you. You are his regardless. Whether you like it or not, God made man. Okay, so by default, you're naturally his. But then he calls us to a relational side of life. That's the portion where many don't encounter. Thank you. That's the part that many don't encounter. They take the fact that they exist as enough. And then some people will take Christianity as the relationship, and that's not it either. It explains why people cannot defend their faith because they think, oh, I'm Christian, that should be enough to deter anyone. And it's not. But when you have a superficial relationship, things will easily come to pull you away because you're in a take and take relationship with God. He must prove himself all the time, and you aren't supposed to do anything except request stuff from him. And when he does not give stuff, or he doesn't fulfill your prayers, he must be slacking. So I leave the faith. I walk away from God because he's not fulfilling his end of the bargain. What is his end of the bargain? Can somebody tell me what is his end of the bargain? Please. His end of the bargain, creating you, saving you. The last time I checked, our end of the bargain does nothing for him. Nothing. We are in one of the most lopsided relationships in human history ever. Like the most lopsided ever. So the question of walking away from Christianity, you can do that all day long. especially when you consider Christianity the answer and not God the answer. You see, we place Christianity, the title, the station, above that of servitude to God. That is what has happened, which is why statements and questions like this of what would cause you to give up Christianity, it, it's a it's a it's a non sequitur. I can't answer that question because it's not a sensible question. I mean, I get that it makes sense to people who look at Christianity in a certain crazy light, but that's not what it is. The relational aspect of my life to God is not expressed in Christianity. It's not. I'm sorry to tell people that's not expressed in Christianity. Thank you, Pearl. They were called that because of what they were. They weren't called Christians because they were Christians. They were called Christians because of what people saw in them. They didn't go around telling people, I'm a Christian. You can't walk away from a belief system because of the title. If you have to tell somebody you're a Christian, you're probably not. Let me put it to you like that. If you have to tell somebody, harp on them that that's what you are, then something's up. The believers in the days of old did not have to announce to anyone whose they were, what they were. They were given a name based on their behavior, based on everything people could observe about them. It was exuding out of them. So let's find out now what would cause you to leave something that you didn't create. Okay. Did God call us to be Christians? Let's start there. Now I'm going to warn you, if you're not carefully listening to what I'm saying, you're going to get mad at me. Did God call us to be Christians? Answer that question for me. Did God call us to be Christians? And if he did call it to be a Christian, show me. Isn't that something crazy that he didn't call us to be a Christian? Yet still we keep telling people you need to be a Christian. I am not called to be that. People should see God in me and want to identify me as his. If they give me a title such as Christian, I will take it because what they're seeing isn't me, and that's good. That is exactly what I want. I do not want them seeing the old dead me. I need them seeing the person I'm following now. So if they call me Christian, feel free. Whose I am is God's. I'm a believer. I'm a follower. That's what I am. Whose I am is his. But as far as titles go, we invest so much of ourselves in this idea of, I'm a Christian. And yet you can't even get 90% of the people who say they are Christian to tell you what that means. They can't tell you what it means. They know that they are called Christians and they call themselves a Christian, but they cannot tell you what it means. Isn't that crazy? It gives an answer as to why people can't defend their faith. Because they join up with a church simply for the fact that they get to be called something different. They're not asked to change anything because they're not introduced to the gospel and nor are they introduced to the cross. None of that really applies. They're not asked to die, they're asked to come as they are. In an essence kind of way, people are called to be atheists. In a lot of ways, the modern day church is filled with atheists. Do, an atheist is one who doesn't believe in God, right? The existence of God. But not only that, they don't believe that he has any power. Do you know of so called Christians that don't believe in the power of God? Like say for instance, he doesn't talk to us anymore. Or how about this one? Miracles and healings don't happen. Or how about this one? He doesn't move like that anymore. Remember we spoke about miracles, how I don't look for miracles? I don't. I don't look for them because I don't need them to prove God to me. But I'm fully aware that he can do anything he wants to do. If someone were to walk up to me with one leg and all of a sudden I see it start to grow, I wouldn't be freaked out. Why wouldn't I not be freaked out? Because God can do that. God can do that. You don't talk today, the miracles ain't the same. He wouldn't do that. He wouldn't do this. Okay, here's a test for you. Here's a test. When you go to services this weekend, whether that's on Saturday or Sunday, whichever one, when you go to services this weekend, randomly ask anyone that you come across, just ask them this one question. Does God operate the same today as he did in Moses' time? Just ask him. Does he operate the exact same way? And then put the example in front of him. Does he and can he shut up the mouth of lions? Can he keep you from burning in a furnace? Ask him that simple question and watch the answer. Heck, I'd go further. Ask your preacher. Ask your preacher. Do you believe that God can save people from a fiery furnace today? Ask him. Ask him if someone could move at God's speed today. Ask him if someone can be here 1 second and a 500 miles away the next. Just ask. Look and tell me what they say. Just report back Monday morning and what they say. If you're not disappointed, I'll be glad. But if you're disappointed, it should tell you something. Can he restore a withered hand? Can he get rid of leprosy today? Can he get rid of anything he wants to today? Can he heal without the aid of doctors, without the aid of a hot? Can he heal? If their answer is, I'm sure he can, but he uses, and they go on like that, run, please. If they put any buts or caveats to it, run. So, is there anything that can deter you from becoming or being a Christian? Tons of stuff can make you do that. Tons. But if you are following, like really following, there'll be nothing. There'll be nothing. Because your belief is not based on the acts of God, it is based on the person. I don't follow God because of what he can do. I follow God because of who he is. And since who he is doesn't ever change, I will have no reason to not follow. This is why it's so difficult for people to accept and grasp the concept of a true believer. This is why. This is why it's so difficult. It's difficult because men want to have something that they can say, that's as far as I'm going to go and no further. Men will naturally look for an out. You can't find one with God. You cannot find an out. If you walk away, it's because you want to. There is no reason to walk away. No plausible, God given reason will ever deter you from following God. Your turning your back will come as a result of you no longer wanting to believe something. In other words, you will want to believe a lie in order to not follow God. The following has zero to do with what he does. The following has everything to do with who he is, because who he is what caused everything else. Who he is caused everything else. He is love, and that made him. It compelled him to send Jesus. It compelled him to sacrifice to bring us back. Love did that, and love is who he is. There is no, I will follow God until he does not change. If he does not change, there will never be a reason after day one for you to turn your back. There will be none. None. So, no, nothing will cause me to give up on Christianity. While the title might exist that I'm a Christian by people, or I might even call myself a Christian, the truth is this: I am God's. Not a God, not God. I belong to God. I'm his. And I am his by submission, out of understanding who he is. And there is a reverent fear that accompanies that. And it should have a reverent fear. You should be afraid of the ever living God because he can not only destroy your body, but your soul. The next question an atheist will ask me is, oh man, so you're just staying with him because you're afraid he's going to condemn you. Should I not be? It's a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the ever living God. Of course I should be. I should be freaking out. What are you talking about? Thank you, Nicole. I should be freaking out. You're going to tell me I should not be afraid? Come on, people. Look. Let's not play the pious the role, okay? Let's not play that. I should absolutely be afraid. Fear, trembling, all of it. I should be in fear of who God is. Let's not get this twisted at all. Let's not get this twisted at all. Don't let the current today people tell you you should not be afraid. You should be afraid. There are two different types of fear: an unknown fear and a known fear. It is fully known what will happen. You should be afraid. He doesn't leave anything unknown to you as to what will happen. You should be afraid. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Don't let nobody lie to you and say you shouldn't. You should. You should definitely be afraid. I can't stress that enough. You should be. But understand this one other part to it. The fear of my God is not because I'm in trembling of what the consequences are. I'm in awe of the person and in fear of the power he possesses, not what he'll do, because he's also given me a way to avoid all wrath. But I am fully aware that without that entry point, I would be dead. There is a definite reverent fear that you should have for God. That just don't even try and play that game. Don't play that game. He is something to be reckoned with. When he spoke to Job, now mind you, Job had been worshiping God for decades, to the point where God said, test time to test him. Job was not really afraid of God. If you read it, it doesn't sound like he was afraid until God spoke. And when God spoke, a whole different level of understanding happened for Job. When he spoke up and started putting Job in his place, Job realized, I see it. And I forget I said anything. I didn't know what I was saying. I'm I'll shut up. He understood right away in that moment who he was before God. The buddy buddy chum chum, while that exists on a certain level, never forget what you're dealing with. Do not get it twisted. Don't forget who you're dealing with. This is what I like about what's his name description. C.S. Lewis in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And if you don't understand The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe's significance and meanings, then I would advise you figure that out for us before. Okay, okay. But in the book, when Aslan shows up and wipes out the witch, and Lucy is talking to Mr. Tumnus, this particular portion, the way C.S. Lewis puts it, made it tangible for me. He said, she said to him, he's not a tame lion. And he said, no, he's not a tame lion, but he is good. Because I think we forget that he is a lion. Wesley, I'm going to advise you to shut up or leave. Those are your two options at this point, Wesley. Don't play this game, Wesley. This isn't the room for it. This isn't the room for it, Wesley. Trust and believe me, this ain't the room for it. So you got two options at this point: shut up or leave. That's on your own volition. Either that, or I can boot you from the room and block you completely. Pick one. Pick one. It's your last warning. Okay? Shut the hole you have in your face and use the two on the side of your head, or leave the room. Okay? Okay, good. Now, that description of God is who Aslan is supposed to be: the great lion, the one who can stop the endless winter, put an end to the witch's schemes, destroy everything in his path, but can stand in front of you after you've screwed up and breathe on you, and everything is fine. But you never forget that he is a lion without an owner. He's a free roaming lion. He's a lion, big mane lion. You don't go to the jungle and you don't go to the plains of Africa and poke the male lion and expect nothing to happen. You also don't just go in his territory and mess with the queens and mess with the cubs and expect that him to just not do anything. That is a lion, a free roaming, untamable beast. And I think we forget that about God. We forget it. We forget, and sometimes we want to treat him like we do a house cat. We treat him like a house cat. We cuddle him, and he's a cuddly little thing, and he's cute, and we pet him, and he's always around when we want to cuddle and to feel better. That's how we view God, the little pet. When in essence, what he actually is an untamed, free range, roaming king of the beast lion. And in one swipe, he ends you. We forget that. We let that go right, right over the head. And instead, we embrace something that we can just go in and out of willy nilly and act as though it's something you can just give up. Because we never fully understand what we step into, which is why it's so easy. Like, say, marriage. A lot of us don't understand the consequences, the damage can be done, and we don't understand the sacred covenant it is. I was guilty of that 100%. I did not understand the sacred covenant it was. And in turn, it reflected how I saw God as well. But when you understand the sacredness of the covenant, the bond, the connection, the union, there is no walking away. That there is none. There is no scenario where you say, if I get that bit of proof, you don't leave a door open, is what I'm saying. You don't enter into a following of God and then assume that something's going to happen that I may walk away from. It, mm-mm, mm-mm. Like their statement here when they said, if you were to find a tomb with his body still in it, that would be your. You would have to tell me then that the very premise of God's salvation plan is a lie. You're in essence telling me that God himself is a liar. So I'm not walking away from Christianity for Christianity's sake. I'm walking away from the idea of God altogether. That's what you're really asking me to do. You're asking me to believe that there is a body out there somewhere and I just have to find it to disprove God. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. And then they say, but what if it did? This is how I answer them. What if water stopped being wet? What if water stopped being wet? What if fire stopped being hot? You stop drinking it? You stop taking showers because it's no longer wet? They look at me like I'm dumb. Like, bro, come on, man. That's a stupid analogy. No, because you're asking me to negate the natural effects of water. It's like, right. That's what you're asking me to do. You're asking me to ignore all reason about what water is. The very nature of water is, in essence, what you're asking me to deny. And this one day, it's just going to pop up and water is not be water anymore. It'll be something else. That's, in essence, what you're asking me to view God like. Like, you're telling me that somehow God's going to just ignore his nature and all of it's going to show up to be a lie. But when I tell you it's like water not being water anymore, that's ridiculous. Well, I'm telling you what it would take for me not to follow God anymore. Water one day would have to not be wet. You know the whole pigs flying thing? Because you can make pigs fly now. You just catapult them and say, see, they're flying. Even if it was for a few seconds, they're flying. If you can give me a point in time where water is no longer water, I will stop believing that God is God. That's simple. That's the answer for me. I don't know what that's. I don't understand it. The question itself makes no sense because I don't view myself the way Christians are seen. I don't. Christianity is a title given by people who saw something in other people. And the only correlation they could make is that they're behaving exactly like Christ. So we're just going to call them that. They are the embodiment of that guy that we used to know. Remember that guy that died? Yeah, you remember him? And he that all that crap that had people walking around, dead people walking around. You remember that? I remember that. Do you remember that curtain getting torn? Yeah, I remember that, bro. You remember how dark it went? Yeah, I remember how dark it went. Do you remember people seeing him after he was dead? Yeah, I remember seeing him too. But those people act exactly like him. Like they embody everything about this, like it's him. We're gonna call them Christians because that's what they are. They act just like him. They saw it. No one went up to these people randomly and said, "Ha, you don't call me by my name. I'm a Christian. Call me a Christian." Didn't happen. You end up following God. You follow God. If people end up seeing you and believe that you embody something, so like watch it. Okay, it's like this. If you saw um, Kai Green or Ronnie Coleman or Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime walking down the street, the first thing you would think is that that's a bodybuilder. That's a bodybuilder. There's no way you get that large and that defined in that specific way if you're not a bodybuilder. It exudes from them. It's a obvious seeing bodybuilder. Now, they go into the sport of bodybuilding. But people right off the top don't need to have the person they're talking to announce to them. Like they'll walk up to if Ronnie have you ever I don't know if you've seen Ronnie Coleman. If you've ever seen Ronnie Coleman before his back surgeries, 8-time Mr. Olympia, if you've ever seen Mr. Ronnie Coleman when he was really he would not need to tell you what he did. You wouldn't have a doubt in your mind what he did. There was no questioning it. You would look at Ronnie Coleman and you'd say, bodybuilder. And only the clown would walk up to him and say, are you a bodybuilder? It'd be pretty stinking obvious that that man lifts weights and lots of heavy weights, massive amounts of heavy weight. Do they say the same thing about you when they see you? That that is a Christian? Are they going to see you the same way they saw the saints of old? Does it exude from you? Does it pour out of you? Does it just pop out? Is there something different? Or do you do the same thing? Is it you just have a slight change to your demeanor? Or is it a cut and dry, different human being that you become? And if that change hasn't happened, I can see why you would call yourself all the time and try to remind people that you're a Christian. But it should be that you don't even have to announce it. It should be that they just know. It should be. It should be. But for a lot of people, it's not. Christianity is going to church on Sunday. Christianity is going to church on Sunday. That's it. You go to church, you hang out, you go back home, you're good to go. Hang on a second. People are looking for the show and can't find it. I'm wondering why the room was so small. People can't find the show for some reason. Go figure. Look, this whole concept of walking away from Christianity is another effort by atheists to give you reason to doubt. And the more you do that, yes, on YouTube, the more you do that, the bigger problems you put for yourself. Because if you're not investing time in understanding the person that Christianity is about, Christianity just becomes a term, a thing you do, a title you possess. You don't have any. It's why many cannot defend their stance in God. They can't because they're not in there. They were called to a certain thing, and so you have. I'm a member of this church, and I'm a member of that church, and I have this as my pastor, and blah 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 blah. They couldn't tell you anything about God. They couldn't tell you anything about God that the preacher didn't tell them because they don't invest any time in actually knowing Him. They are churchgoers. They assemble with some people on Sunday, and the rest of the week is just blah. So, for people like that, walking away from Christianity is very, very easy. In fact, it's normal. I used to be a Christian and then I stopped. No, you didn't. You didn't stop. You were never started. You picked up a title that other people gave you and you had no concept what it entailed. You didn't try, you didn't attempt, you just did something randomly and walked out of it randomly. Look, there are tons of things that will make people walk away from Christianity. A preacher, pew warmer, somebody said something to you sideways, somebody said something you disagreed with, tons of things. Oh, how about this? You believe that the LGBTQ people are still godly. And then you show up at an assembly and it's condemning that lifestyle. And you said, oh, if that's what they believe, I can't be a Christian. You were never a believer. Because, first of all, your initial belief that caused you to never go back to that church is not of God. I don't care if you have family that are gay. I don't care. It doesn't matter how close the person that's gay is to you. It doesn't change what you can and cannot be in the presence of God. It doesn't change it. Just because you don't like it does not make it less wrong. I don't understand that. I can't view my brother like that. Don't view your brother like that. Just understand that you are now standing in complete opposition to who God is. And by that nature, you cannot be where he is. By default, you're no longer a Christian if you thought you were before. Right off the top, whether people believed it or not, you're no longer that. In a lot of ways, you never even breached the doorway to be one. You never did. Christianity is not an action. Christianity is not something that you tell people. It's not something that you brag about. Either people see that you have Christ in you or they don't. They do or they don't. And if they don't see it, what then are you? What then are you? That is the bigger question. What then are you? Are you just someone that randomly shows up at a Sunday gathering? Are you just a random person that shows up and says, I'll sing a few songs and hang out until it's lunchtime and then go home? Is it that you keep being the where you were before, and now you just have an easy way to say sorry and be fine the next until the next time you fall? What exactly are you? And what exactly is God to you? What exactly is he to you? Because if he's not everything to you, then he's nothing to you. Clarify, please. 10. I'm going to read it out so I don't misinterpret, but I want to have you clarify this for me. People lie, cheat, steal, commit adultery, whoremongers, selfish, uncaring, idolaters. There's not just one specific sin. How can we discriminate against one? So before I even respond to it, can you please clarify the intent behind the statement? Please. I don't want to jump any guns and I don't want to read into it. So if you can please clarify the reasons for your People make a big deal about the trans people. Yes, yes, we do. Because it's the biggest agenda being pushed today. It is the one being pushed as normal today. So, yes, it is a big deal. And they are doing this to children. They are raping children. They are castrating children. And it is being pushed by the LGBTQ people. No one ever said that they're the only sin that we call out. It is the most prominent one today, however, and we will not be silent about them because they are trying to put children in front of nude men dressed as women. Then they're trying to tell those children to go cut their things off to be accepted. So, yes, we will directly call them out for their nonsense and sick behavior. Trust us, we will. No one ever said that's the only sin in the world. But today, it is the nastiest one. It is the most disgusting one. It is the most vile one today. And it is the most pushed one. It is the one that they're trying to make it as though, oh, it's just how I am. If you want to be friends with them, go be friends with them. We don't want to be friends with them. They're of the world. Do not be friends of the world. It said it right there. And that means in every stinking aspect. Whoremongers, warmongers, thieving people, lying. We're not friends with them. But today, as it is right now in the world, the biggest push is to destroy children via their sexuality. Last time I checked, he destroyed an entire population for that. Burned it to the ground. Sulfur burned it to the ground. Nothing left to the ground. Couldn't grow anything on the ground after it was done because of that. So I think in his mind, he probably has a little bit more of a fiery place for that particular sin, just based on his actions alone. Just based on his actions alone. Jezebel had a millstone put around her neck and tossed out a window, and dogs ate her up. I'm pretty sure that she pushed the same crap. So, yeah, he looks at it a little bit differently. Just a tad bit differently. It's all sin, but there is a special spot there for that. I don't recall him doing any of that to a tax collector. I don't recall him doing any of that. So yeah, I think we're justified in calling out that depravity twice on Sundays. All sin that keeps you from the presence of God is bad. Then there are some that go one step further. That's them. So yeah, we will be definitely singling them out. Trust me, we'll be singling them out. As for me or any one of you that see it the way I see it, no, there is nothing that will turn me away from following God. And if you call it a Christianity, call it Christianity, but I am not turning away from God. You're never going to be able to show me a grave. You're never going to understand the human body. You're never going to explain creation, and you're never going to do any of that things outside of him. Never. It is not going to happen. Try all you want. It's not going to happen. It won't happen. Mankind has been trying for eons. They still fail. Heck, they can't even explain the human eye. You expect me to think that somehow you're going to come up with this crazy idea of how to disprove God? You can't even replicate the brain or even explain the eye or how a cord down the center of my back, encased in bone, is the most fragile thing on me, yet the strongest. You can't explain that. You can't explain how I have acids in my stomach that could burn through metal and it just sits in there just fine. You can't explain that. But you want me to you want me to find a way to not believe God? You want me to say science is the answer? Science doesn't know anything about the human body. They just react. You can't even explain how emotions can produce chemicals. You can't tell me how that's even remotely possible for a non-material thing to create a material thing. You can't explain that, but I'm supposed to somehow believe that science has the answer to make me disprove God. Come on, people, you're stupid. You're dumber than a box of rocks if you're going to think I'm going to believe that. An image of the world is upside down and I'm seeing it and it turns it right side up. You're telling me everything. This is what you say, that the eye sees everything inverted. And when it comes in, it flips it so you can see everything right side up. And you can't explain that. So in essence, you don't even know if the world is right side up. You don't even know if you're walking upside down or straight up. You don't know. You don't know. But you want me to forego God to follow your stupidity? You must be outside of your mind. you, you must be outside of your mind. Me? Nah, fam. You keep that ridiculous mindset to yourself. You want me to believe there's no designer, right? When you are fashioning everything that you create after the thing that you say you don't understand. You build cameras after the eye. You build computers after the brain. You build robots after the body. But somehow, you're the one that knows everything. It's not created. It's not intelligent design. It just poof, blew into existence, but yet still you copy everything that blew into existence. Y'all are dumb. This is why I say science is full of scientists are not smart. They just know how to copy crap. Scientists are not smart. They know how to copy. They're the biggest cheaters on the planet. You're a cheater. You just created something to explain something you don't understand. That's all you did. You're copying. You're the one kid in the class that's the dumbest of all. You sit next to the smartest kid and you start copying. Oh, that looks about right. And then you just kind of tweak stuff and you say, oh, I created. You didn't create nothing. You came up with some sort of a cure. You didn't cure nothing. You're reactionary. I serve a God who can change water to wine. I serve a God who can walk on the surface of water. And I serve a God who can raise the dead. What do you have? What do you have? Nothing. You have nothing that can dissuade me. Nothing. You're all worthless, shiftless compared to my God. You're all crap compared to my God. Your smartest person is the dumbest among you compared to my God. Your richest is the poorest compared to my God. You're all nothing compared to my God. Your entire mantra of the world is nothing to my God. And there's nothing you can bring to me at any point in life that will dissuade me from God. I don't care what you think. I don't care what you believe. I don't even care if you die on that hill. Die. Die on that hill. So, no, there is nothing that will change my mind. Nothing. All your efforts are in vain. You struggle against nothing. Your brain, your cognitive function is all due to someone else, but you want all the attribution for it. It's not going to happen. You say you create. No. All you do is use stuff that's already there. You're peons. World leaders and all these people that think they have power. You're nothing. Before the ever living God, you're nothing. You're a zit worth popping. And all you're filled with is pus. Little too descriptive? Not enough. Not enough. Compared to God, you're nothing. And your work will die with you. And at the end of the age, you'll be forgotten. My God will live forever. So, you atheists out there who want to think that you have the market cornered on your brilliance to ignore God, have at it. You ain't affecting me. Keep screaming at the sky. You're thinking you're doing this. I forgot you, God, and all he's hearing is. That's all he's hearing. You thinking you have this big booming voice, and all he's hearing is a little rat down on the planet screaming. Keep screaming. Use all your voice up. At the end of it all, nothing you do will matter. Nothing. If you do not surrender to God, nothing you do will matter. I don't care how much Nobel Peace Prizes you win. I don't care how much you help people. I don't care. If you're not doing it for God and through God, nothing will come of it. And all you'll end up being is a dead person that did some one or two things on earth that people liked. So have at it. Enjoy your atheistic ways. Say there's no God. Be a fool. Have at it. But people who have encountered God in a real way and understand it, I don't mean we fully understand God, but I don't need to fully understand Him. I need to understand exactly what I need to understand, which is what? He loved me enough that while I was distant from Him, to create a bridge for me to come near to Him. And I have that choice. And I've taken that journey and I've crossed that bridge. I'm not crossing back. I'm not crossing back. Feel free to do it if you like, though. It's all you. It's not going to happen for me. Um, Tonight we will be on Too Strong today. Okay, we'll have two shows from Too Strong today. One at 6:30 and one at 8 Eastern. 6:30 Eastern and 8 Eastern. Okay, we do have shows today. Um, and then we have one at 9:30 Eastern on the mix. So it's a very full day. Um, so don't run too far. Tomorrow we'll be talking about, does God have free will? And remember, a lot of these questions are not coming from Christians; they're coming from, you know, atheists. They're coming from atheists. Does God have free will? Um, that'll be another good one. Tonight on Too Strong, we'll be tackling NAMBLA. That's at the 6:30 time slot. And then the Gothard-based tunnels at at 8. That's also going to be in include a lot of the things that happened with CERN and where we are now in comparison, and also that bull ritual that they had at the Commonwealth Games. So all that's going to be in the show. Make sure you show up for that one. And then today on the Savage Patriots, we'll be talking about that COVID balloon. We're talking about that balloon that was floating around. So anyway, at the bottom, you'll see the scrolling ticker is the link for any of you that have already consulted with your father about this, and he said yay or nay. There's the option. The Savage Patriots will be at 4:30 Eastern. 4:30 Eastern. And here is the link to the Savage Patriots right here. I did not set up my P.O. box yet. I'm sorry. I have been swamped with time, and time has not been my friend, so I apologize. I will, and as soon as I do, you'll know. Okay, I promise. As soon as I do, you'll know. Would be kind of nice if we could make it soon. I'm not lying. Oh, not lying. Anyway, so we'll catch up today in another 3 hours and have another conversation with the rest of the Savage Patriots. In the meantime and in between time, like I was saying, there's your scrolling ticker for options if you want to and can and are compelled to by not yourself, not your well wishes, but by consulting God first. Make sure that happens before you do anything. But those are the options right now we have. And thank you again for the birthday wishes. It's going to be a busy birthday, but that's good. Busy is good. And I don't feel old. So not mentally, at least I don't feel old. Bodily, I do. Bodily, I feel about 90. But that's going to change this year. I'm going to go back to my youth. I will. Watch me. So we'll see you guys later today and also tomorrow. Wisdom calls to you from the street. Please, please, please find wisdom. Peace.
Hold tight the dreams, for if dreams die, rely on yourself and no